We're joining you here from the ISIS Wits and Wise conference in Dublin, and with the publication of our MISQ special issue on transformational issues of big data and analytics in network business, we thought it could be interesting to give you some afterthought on the various papers that were published and also about the whole process. One of the things that we were aiming for with this special issue was bridging the gap between analytics as a technical discipline, studied, for example, in statistics, and on the other hand, analytics is a business enabler, which enables new types of business applications. Would you agree with me on that?
I think so. I think when we started this, one of the things we tried to do is to get some of the very best researchers in the world to participate and try to pull together a collection of papers that included very, I would call, cutting-edge theory, along with papers that demonstrated in real-world big data settings how analytics can really deliver business value. With the issue just coming out, we've had really nice feedback from our academic colleagues.
And in fact, Jim, at the ISIS keynote,
That's
at
right.
the ISIS conference, the Atish Banerjee, who is the CIO of Facebook, actually newly appointed CIO of Facebook, showcased our special issue as a kind of a signal of impact on the industry.
Yeah.
Right?
And he emphasized the fact that the kind of research that we and our colleagues are doing does impact, and it's really visible in the business community. So that was pretty exciting. Maybe Bart, you could talk a little bit about the process we followed to get the special issue together. One more thing we should mention: two other co-editors were not able to make it. So Gavin Teven and Leon Zhao, so they send their best, so we didn't want to forget them because they were a major part of getting this all together.
Yeah.
And Bart, so you all had all the papers that were kind of getting close to the final round of acceptance.
We had
at Leuven, right?
Yeah, that's right. We had quite an innovative way of handling the whole review process in the sense that we started off with about 82 papers that were submitted, which clearly showed the interest in the topic of big data and analytics and how to use it to create added value in business settings. And from those 82, there were 16 that moved on to the second round, of which 11 were invited to a workshop in Leuven. You guys still remember the workshop?
Very well. It was
right.
Drank some very good beer.
It was well hosted by Bart and the university. I think more importantly, the authors all came. They spent 2 days with 11 papers, essentially providing constructive criticism, very interactive, and we were really pleased with how it turned out.
The idea was that every author or authors, because sometimes multiple authors attend presenting their paper, gave a very short overview of the key message of their paper during half an hour, and that was followed during half an hour of Q&A. And we really felt that this was a very important quality control mechanism because it surely increased the quality of all papers, which was to great benefit of the quality of the special issue. So we were very pleased with that, and we also got very good feedback from the authors on this.
Absolutely. I think we had sent out the papers ahead of time, so everybody had read everybody else's papers, and the discussion was, to me, exactly what we want and more of in academics, and that is it's critically challenging but supportive and helping to offer very, very helpful suggestions.
And these were not blind referees; they were some of the smartest people
that's right.
who do this work, right? So that's that 11 was a very special group.
It was really a unique collection of top research.
So a lot of very interesting people. So now that one of the things that I really like about the special issue was that we had a very wide range of applications of really kind of cutting edge analytics. We had theoretical papers that were kind of going down to building new methodologies. And many different domains.
That's right. And one of my important key takeaways is that, as I already mentioned, analytics is more than just running a statistical or a machine learning technique on a set of data. It's also about the quality of the data, because without data you can't do much analytics, but you have to look at data accuracy, data completeness, data relevance, and so on. But more than that, once you have estimated or built your analytical model, it's not only about statistical significance of parameters, it's not only about lift curves, mean squared errors, R squared, but it's also about how to successfully deploy those models in an information system, how to represent.
Operationalize.
That's right. How to represent the outputs in an interpretable way. Regulatory compliance was also one of the
That's
issues
right.
that we touched upon, right?
Right. I mean, government, the role in government is huge. And I think as we go forward with this, what's kind of interesting is now it's done and it's out and people are reading it. So now where do we go from here? So one of the things that I've seen is there are other groups developing. There's a group called Skecker, which is a kind of monogram for statistical challenges in e-commerce research. And as they go forward, they're looking at new techniques and statistics, new ways statistics can be utilized in the big data setting. And what you're seeing is that a lot of the things we used to look at about test of significance, for example, they don't really apply because our sample size are so large, right? Everything's significant. But that's not the point. The point is what has value. And how do we demonstrate the value in a particular problem setting? So I see a lot of great things. Robbie, what do you see coming out?
To me, I think one of the really exciting things about the special issues, and also I think where the field is going, is these intersection areas, of different methodologies, of statistics, of machine learning, of kind of this whole idea of doing randomized field experiments. And so you start seeing people now thinking about like running a large-scale field experiment, and then actually running machine learning models on top of those treatment effects to find interesting subgroups, subpopulations that are, that might, you might actually never see an average effect, but you might see that, this particular subgroup that comes out of, let's say, a tree or something that has a very significant effect. And this can matter in terms of either marketing outcomes or human outcomes in terms of lives, whatever the context is, right?
Very
exciting area.
Very important point. And building upon that idea you mentioned about value, one of the messages, another key takeaway from the special issue was to measure the impact of the analytical model in profit, right? Express it in terms of profit, but not only evaluate the model in terms of profit, but also estimate the model such that it maximizes profit, right? If you look at many analytical models, they're being estimated to maximize some kind of objective function, maximum likelihood function, which is useful from a statistical perspective. But at the end of the day, what matters is generating profits or cutting costs. So you can try to devise new ways, new techniques, and we're actually inspired by the special issue. We're working on this in our group right now to build, for example, regression-based models that directly optimize profit, whereby the coefficients are chosen in such a way that they optimize profit.
That is very interesting.
And absolutely, because in some settings, if you think about a least squares regression, for example, doesn't really apply because one big error can be fatal. It may be you just want to estimate subject to a constraint that no error is larger than X.
That's right.
And I think those issues are there. I also think as we look forward, we have a job to do, and that we notice in a lot of the tech companies, Facebook, as we mentioned earlier, they're right up to speed. But in many other companies, we have to be able to translate what we do into language and presentations that they understand. And that's a challenge for us.
Oh, it's a huge challenge. I see this in Minneapolis all the time. We have 25 to 500 companies headquartered there. All kind of the classic or, the grain companies and the product companies like 3M and General Mills. And I think the idea that, everybody's excited, every CIO, CEO is excited about machine learning. That's analytics, right? But they don't really have a good sense of how to operationalize this, how to locate this in the organization.
That's right.
What's the human capital element of this? How do you embed it into your existing IT?
Right.
How do you, so analytics is broad. It's not just IT.
And it's because of that breadth, it's disruptive.
That's right.
And that's a challenge. And part of it is we have to work with businesses so that we learn to help them understand. And not only when a model is useful, but how to also monitor when there are threats to the usefulness of that model.
That's right.
When in fact the model should be updated or deleted.
Right. So the whole backtesting exercise is very crucial because if you look at analytical models, they're constantly being challenged by sampling variability, by endogenous effects. Think about mergers and acquisitions, which changes portfolios of customers, which definitely has an impact on the behavior of customers, etc. And also exogenous effects. Think about macroeconomic downturns, which will have impact on
or Brexit or
Trump. I didn't want to touch upon that, but now that
But there's also, I mean, one of the things, the other areas that we find not only interesting but continually challenging are fraud,
That's right.
security. These are all going to be tremendously impacted by the ability of researchers to develop techniques and the ability of companies to implement those things.
That's right. That's right. So one of the, now that you talk about fraud, for example, we did a recent project for a European credit card provider, and they were basically not only interested in statistical accuracy in terms of hit rates, etc., which you usually find in fraud analytics, but also in operational efficiency. For example, we have one requirement that stated that we had to be able to make a fraud decision within 8 seconds, right?
Yeah.
So that seriously limits the type of analytical techniques,
That's
the
right.
type of data that you can gather.
Right.
So because it brings in another requirement. It's
Right.
not only about hit rate, statistical
Right.
accuracy,
Right.
but also about operational efficiency. On top of that, we also have the interpretability issue, which in fraud analytics is very important if you want to do fraud prevention, right? And we also touched upon these issues throughout the various papers in the special issue.
Absolutely, and I think when I look at the special issue, first, the process was tough. It took a lot of time from a lot of people. We want to thank the authors; they put in a tremendous amount of effort. It's not too typical to have authors from virtually every continent all travel to Leuven, Belgium, for a 2-day conference. They all showed up. So we want to thank them. We also want to thank Paulo Goes, who's the editor-in-chief of MISQ, who supported this and listened to our ideas and gave us a lot of positive feedback.
Yeah, great. So enjoy the special issue, and look forward to hearing your comments, and look forward to more impact from analytics and big data.
That's great, and
And
the feedback is great.
Yeah.
Cheers, regards from Dublin.
Cheers. Cheers.